And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er her streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. It's Lonesome Things, a horror movie podcast. That's right. Podcast in which two bearded white men aging themselves into oblivion talk about horror movies. That's right, folks. It's the only horror movie podcast in the world. My name is John. That was Chris, you just heard. Good old Chris Walken. And, yeah, that was pretty bad. And with me is my co-host, Josh. Josh, how are you doing in this post-Christmas era? I guess it would be the new year, even though it's not the new year yet.
Yeah, the new year, it's 2025 here on December 29th when we recorded this.
Yep.
So for all of you who have lived through the next 7 days of our lives, congratulations. You know more than us about how it's going. It's going well! As we mentioned before recording, I've been sick. It sounds like you've been sick. Everything is disgusting. And Christopher Walken can really make an Edgar Allan Poe poem last too long.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Man, I was like, whenever the movie started, I was like, oh, I love this poem. Wow. And then as it was going, I was like, wow, I didn't remember it being this long. What an English teacher that guy would be.
What is this, Beowulf?
Oh my god, you've got a caesura in every line. Get out of here, sir.
The man who somehow is compelling in every role, yet has the flattest emotional delivery of any actor. It's amazing.
Oh man. And wasn't this movie just perfect for him, because it seemed like every actor really did not want to be here.
It was amazing. Of course, we're talking about 1983's The Dead Zone, starring Christopher Walken, of course, based on, directed by David Cronenberg, our first David Cronenberg joint. Wow. Probably not his best film, but I still enjoyed it. It really reeked of made-for-television, to be honest, but it was still good. It was the least Cronenbergy of the Cronenbergies that I can remember.
Here,
but,
can I read you something? Can I read you a list?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the 3 movies that Cronenberg directed before this movie, and the 3 movies that Cronenberg directed after this movie, with this movie sandwiched directly in the middle. All right.
Okay.
The Brood, Scanners, Videodrome, The Dead Zone, The Fly, Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch.
Which one did I pick? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He made 3 masterpieces, took a shit, and then made 3 more masterpieces.
Oh my god, yeah. Like I like this movie, but I have no fucking idea what's going on. And that is from someone who generally has no fucking idea what's going on in a David Cronenberg movie. It's just, it's wild. But enjoyable, but just so surreal. Like, I have no idea what the goal was with this movie, even.
It's weird. I mean, any hired gun could have made a competent, version of this film. That this could have been anyone. If you had told me Bob Clark made it, I would have been like, okay, but sure, Bob Clark made it. Like, it doesn't. Sure. It could have been anyone. Any. I mean, I guess I had to pick a Canadian, but it could have been anyone. Is he Canadian, or does he just make movies in Canada? No, he's Canadian.
Cronenberg?
Cronenberg's Canadian, but was Bob Clark Canadian? Sorry.
Good. We're good at this.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So, but, I figured it was kind of timely, and it is. It does feature a populist douche as who is destined to be, maybe, president. So, it kind of fits in with the times.
Yeah. And, I mean, maybe this is too spoilery. If so, I'll cut it out. But a failed assassination attempt on a politician.
That's right. Very Bob Roberts-y, sort of, but not so deliberate as Bob Roberts, which is a fine film. Too bad it's not a horror. It'd be fun to do. But anyways, hey, how was your Christmas, by the way?
Oh, man. I was sick. It was good. I sweated more than I was supposed to, and wheezed. Just unpleasant dude to be around all Christmas long. My dad had a mild heart attack and is in the hospital on Christmas Eve. Yeah, well, whatever.
So you have to have surgery or any of that fun stuff? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he has to have an ablation. Where I think that's the one where they go in and burn the inside of your arteries clean with like a soldering iron. I don't know.
Well, hopefully they'll they'll get it taken care of, and they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Hell yeah! And how about you, sir? How was your Christmas?
Pretty much the same, sans my dad having a heart attack, I guess. But then again, maybe he did have one. We don't talk, so who the fuck knows? But it was fine. I was sick as well. This was one of those years where both of us were just, my wife and I were both just kind of like, fuck Christmas. So we didn't put up our tiny little black tree that we found at like Walmart or whatever. And we didn't decorate at all. And we barely did anything for Christmas. I believe our Christmas dinner, which I'm saying I believe as if I don't know for sure, our Christmas dinner was KFC.
Hell yeah.
Which was fucking delicious. And I'm glad it's over. And now on to the new year. And oh boy, I can't wait.
Oh man, 2025 is going to be a way better year.
Oh, I can feel it in me bones.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be so good. 2024 was a shit show. 2025 is going to be like a balm.
Oh, a salve.
A soothing unguent.
Oh, shit. I did, yesterday, as I mentioned, I did go see Nosferatu in the theater with my wife and daughter, and it was easily one of the best horror films I've ever seen.
Oh, shit.
It was fucking amazing. I was blown away. It sometimes you just see a movie and it hits the spot. You're like, man, this movie just did everything that I needed it to do at that moment. And this movie was pretty much that for me. I mean, it was fucking amazing. The atmosphere and cinematography, set design, performances, costumes, just the overall atmosphere. It was fucking dead on. It was so good.
Are you saying it was better than The Northman?
Yeah, I think it was better than The Northman. I don't know. I mean, like, I liked The Northman, but I found it a little bit, kind of plotty.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of plodding along, sort of. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, but you wanted a more Viking thing, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I like Ed Eggers a lot, but sometimes in his movies, like in The Lighthouse and The Northman, I find myself kind of going through a what the fuck is happening right now period, and I mean, anybody who's familiar with the Dracula myth, I guess it is now, mythos, as as told by Bram Stoker. You know, if you know that story, then you know this movie. If you've seen Murnau's, you know, we'll talk about that another time when we cover it. But it was fucking kick-ass, and I highly recommend seeing it in the theater. So, anyways. But, yeah. But we're here to talk about the Dead Zone.
The Dead Zone!
Almost as good.
Yeah. The movie that's possibly better than the TV series that was based on it much later.
The 6 or 7 season TV series. I
Yeah.
was like, what? 7 seasons or whatever the fuck. It was either canceled at 7 or right before 7. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You watch this movie and it's like, oh yeah, I could see how this would be a TV show instead of a movie.
Yeah, he's like Supernatural, like guys in Supernatural, where he just goes around, like, you know, solving shit by touching people.
Yeah. Yeah, here, let me molest you slightly, and then run you some real con.
It's the story. It's typical Stephen King. It's like, it's one of those ideas where, as a writer, if this idea came to you, you'd never flesh it out. You'd never write a book about it because you'd just be like, this is stupid. Why would I write a book about this? This is so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And the Stephen King does it, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Because he's a good writer. He writes good story. He's a great storyteller. He writes compelling characters. As we've pointed out, he's a bit wordy, but he's not wordy like, you know, it's not like you're reading Hegel or something. I mean, it's
Whoa.
easy to follow. It's just, there's just a lot of it. So, you know, he could probably stand to be edited a little bit, but at the same time, you can't really argue with his success. So.
Yeah, the success is there. Here, much like I read off the movies that Cronenberg had done, this is a list of the Stephen King adaptations that happened before this. So,
Oh, no.
So 76, you have Carrie. That was his first on-screen adaptation. 79, Salem's Lot. 80, The Shining. 82, Creep Show. 1983, you get this film along with Cujo and Christine. So you can see the wheels are just starting to come off of the good time Stephen King train.
Hey, I love Christine. Cujo, you know,
what are you gonna do? It's a slimy dog.
Yeah, that's it. It's D. Wallace stuck in a car.
But yeah, it's quite, it definitely is the first one that like super duper feels like a made for TV deal, even though in fact Salem's Lot was made for TV.
But yeah, it's just so fucking good. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
still watch it every once in a while just to remind myself how much I love it.
Oh, I was talking about this, but yeah, Christine too. Or whatever you're talking about. I don't know.
Salem's Lot.
Okay, yeah. You know what? Dayquil is... No one should be allowed to take Dayquil.
No, it's not. By the way, and also I'd like to point out, as a side note, when you put your head in just the right position, that workout gear behind you or whatever that is piled up against the closet door looks like rabbit ears.
Oh. Like this?
Yeah, you look like a funny bunny.
I'm a bunny rabbit! Yeah. Yeah, that is in fact a treadmill what has never been used once.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you had to get it inside and it was probably heavy. That's one workout right there.
There you go. You got it. And we moved it. This was I believe a Christmas gift from when we lived in an apartment upstairs. So we had to get it up there into the apartment and then down from the apartment and then into this house.
What a great gift. Here's Merry Christmas, you're fat.
Yeah. Good luck dusting this in a decade.
How many years until you just get rid of it?
Will it smell like cat pee then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Good. Let's see. Our boy Christopher Walken, as playing Johnny Smith. He's probably the most famous for his roles in The Deer Hunter, The Prophecy, and The Guy Who Knows What Happened on the Boat with Natalie Wood.
Yeah, and that Fat Boy Slim thing.
Yeah, the Fat Boy Slim music video.
And the more cowbell sketch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forget.
I got the fever.
Yeah. Everyone who's not funny has been able to quote that ever since.
Every comedian ever can now do their terrible Christopher Walken impression.
It's great. I've never seen a movie that's just like him and what's the guy from Star Trek? William Shatner. Just Christopher Walken, William Shatner as a duo doing like dialogue. Let's go.
My God, the flattest movie ever made.
Oh man, because you could do like old 1970s like very dramatic William Shatner or like new fat gay William Shatner, and they both work in that scene.
New fat gay William Shatner. Oh. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
We also have Brooke Adams, the beautiful Brooke Adams, the talented Brooke Adams. We know her from Invasion of the Body Snatchers and now The Dead Zone.
And Shockwaves.
And Shockwaves, that's right! God damn it!
We loves us some Brooke Adams.
Oh man, here you get to see her in multiple haircuts. What a great time to be alive.
Oh man. Oh boy. Yeah.
And we also have the talents of Tom Skerritt from the movie Alien. Skerritt plays a sheriff, which makes sense because, like the word sheriff, it's hard to tell how many of each letter are in the last name Skerritt.
Whoa.
Yeah, there you go. We got Martin Sheen, the Sheen himself. The Sheen Sire. Sheen. Ween. He plays Greg Stilson. You know him from Apocalypse Now, of course. You've seen that movie. Who hasn't seen that movie? You'd have to be a weirdo to co-host a podcast about movies and have never seen Apocalypse Now.
Oh, well, good thing I've seen it like 300 times on every chemical known to man.
Nice. You'd have to be a crazy person to co-host a movie podcast and not know the difference between Apocalypse Now and Apocalypse Now Redux.
Well, the difference is about 9 hours.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And we also have Herbert Lom as Dr. Sam Wyzak. He is most famous to me as being Dreyfus in the Pink Panther series of comedy extravaganzas.
Yes, I do like me some Herbert Lom.
Yeah, this movie really loms it up.
I think he was born in the Czech Republic, and have you seen his actual name?
No.
Good luck pronouncing that.
Oh, shit. That's amazing.
It's like Shrubdu Krugzublikru Grubu Shubuhu Rabulikatsidlovich.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that shit. Oh, yeah.
Dude.
Herbert Charles Angelo Kuchakevich Z. Zluder Patcharoo?
Z. Zluder Patcharoo.
Whoa!
Oh, man, that's great. I love that guy. He's a great character actor. Of course, I had to look him up because I was like, how old was he in this movie, I wonder? And I think he was 66 or something in this. That guy lived till 2012. He died when he was 95. And he died in his sleep. What a fucking life that guy had.
What a badass. Damn.
I know. Like, you go, Herbert Shabadoo, or whatever his name is.
He was like, you know what? I'm not looking forward to what I have to do tomorrow, so fuck you guys. I'm outsy.
I love that guy.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent in the cast. But, you know, it's just kind of it's light fare, I guess you could say, but it's entertaining. I mean, it definitely does its job. It is definitely not my least favorite Stephen King film adaptation.
Oh,
not even close.
Yeah.
So, you know, but, yeah, it was, you know, It does its job, kind of. I don't know what its job is, but it did it.
It did it. It did it. It took a bunch of different script rewrites. They had one where Stephen King himself submitted a screenplay, and David Cronenberg was noted as saying that was the worst of all of the screenplays he'd seen for this movie.
It was probably 14 hours. It was probably longer than the novel.
Yeah. And they also had a screenplay submitted by the Andrzej Zaralski, or whatever his name is, the guy who wrote the Witcher series of books. They were like, yeah, no. And, yeah.
This guy's pretty good. I think this is going to be good. No, it's terrible.
Yeah. And so they went with the script that they had originally rejected because Cronenberg didn't like it, and so they asked for other people to write scripts, and then when they didn't like those, they were like, all right, fine, we'll go with the first reject script.
First writes reject script.
Oh, man. What a winning setup for a film.
Oh, man, this is gold.
But yeah, if you're ready to go, let's break it down.
Yeah, okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
The movie has a kick-ass title card. Good graphics, really portends to be a fine film. Doesn't really live up to the title card, but that's okay. So, anyways, here's a brief note. I just wanted to say, while I was watching this film, it's supposed to take place in this fictional town that Stephen King has created called Castle Rock.
Castle Freak, yes.
A little town in Maine called Castle Freak, where apparently in 1983, everybody lives in old houses full of antiques. There's this, at some point in the story, Walken's character Johnny moves to his own place, which looks exactly like the place he lives in with his dad and mom, and except it looks exactly the same, and instead of like regular lights in his house, he has oil lamps.
Yeah.
Like, this is 1983, and then I thought about it. In 1983, I was 15, and I was already going to hardcore shows.
Hell yeah.
These guys have wash basins and like hand-tinted, photographs and fucking oil lamps in every house. I'm like, wow, okay, that's, sure. 83.
Yeah. 83,
okay.
What are you going to do?
So anyways, we are introduced to a teacher by the name of Johnny, who is teaching the kids the poem, the Raven.
Yeah.
Great, whatever.
Lenore!
Lenore. And the kids are, I like when he's like, so, I think you can see why this is a great poem. And the kids are just kind of like, it's fucking great. So anyways.
It's okay if you're all horny now.
Who wants to play with the gap in my teeth? So Johnny goes on a date with his sweetheart, Sarah, Brooke Adams. Yay. And he's got a great day, saved up. They're going to go ride a roller coaster, which they do. And then he takes her home, and she invites him in to fuck. And he says, no, let's not rush a good thing or some dumb shit like that. And totally cockblocks his lady, drives away into a foggy fog storm, and a giant tanker truck jackknives, and he clips the end of it. Wakes up 5 years later after being in a coma, remembers nothing, hasn't aged a day. The doctor tells him he's in some hospital, which is in an antique house full of antiques. The doctor tells him that Sarah is now married. She's moved on. She now cleaves now to another man.
Oh, man.
I was like, wow, okay, that's what we're going with.
Calm down.
His parents come to visit. His parents are, like, horrifying. Horrible old people. They show up. He touches his mother's hand and has a crazy vision, and he realizes that if he touches people, he can have crazy visions of things that have happened in their life.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. He touches the doctor and finds out that the doctor was rescued in Poland from the Nazi invasion, and he was separated from his mom, and it turns out his mom is actually still alive, so it's true, Johnny has power. So, anyways, he goes to visit Sarah, and lays some serious walking on her. She's got a new haircut, a husband, and a little dumb kid. He tells her he's still in love with her, and she says, don't go there. And then he says, don't be such a hooker. It's been 5 years. My feelings haven't changed yet. And then his mom has a heart attack. So he visits her after seeing some, I don't remember, it doesn't matter. He visits her in the hospital. He touches her hand, and nothing happens. Okay. Later, she dies, which also doesn't matter. Okay, good. Well, we're off to a great start. Sheriff Bannerman, played by Tom Skerritt, visits Johnny to ask if he might be able to help with his magical prowess, help him locate the Castle Rock killer who has killed 9 women in this tiny little town that nobody seems too concerned about. I mean, they want to catch him, but when they get a chance.
Yeah, whenever.
Yeah, he shakes the sheriff's hand, and nothing happens. And then he acts like a dick and says, I'm not whatever he says. I'm not a jukebox, or whatever. It basically, tells him that, you can't just put a coin in me and I tell you who killers are. And then the sheriff leaves. Then we find out that his dad doesn't have a knack for tinsel when he's decorating the Christmas tree. Okay. Sarah comes over and brings her spawn, Denny, to meet Christopher Walken. And Christopher Walken does his thing. They put Denny to bed, and we go back to the living room, which looks like a tornado went through it. And then she starts unbuttoning her sweater, and they fuck, because they never had that chance 5 years ago, even though she's moved on and is married and has a kid. But she just came over to close the fuck chapter. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe I can see you again. And she says, not in that way. Wink. Watching the TV, Johnny watches an interview with the sheriff. And he basically says to the press or to the public that, if there's anyone out there that has any information or any way of helping me, please come forward, Johnny. So Johnny, falls for it. He takes the bait. He realizes he's being a tool. So he joins the sheriff. They go into a giant, really long, it's not giant, but it's a really long brick tunnel.
Yeah. Super
weirdly backlit. It's probably the most Cronenberg-y shot of the movie.
Yeah.
The tunnel appears to be several hundred yards long. Somehow it magically snows inside the tunnel because it's full of snow. They hand Johnny, they tell him that a girl had been killed there, Debbie Banana Pants or whatever her name is. They give her a pack of Marlboro Reds that they found on site that might be evidence, so everyone is touching it with their bare hands. They give it to Johnny, and he tries real hard to do the thing that he can only do when he touches people, but maybe he can do it with Marlboros. Yeah. But no, he can't.
No. Maybe if he shits his pants about it, it'll work, but no.
Yeah. It was poignant and pointless. So that happens, and then the sheriff gets a call on site about another body. So they go to the location where the body is. It's a gazebo. Johnny removes her mitten and touches her hand, and apparently he can get his powers through dead people. Great. Turns out the victim knows the killer. And oh my goodness, here's a surprise no one saw coming. The killer is the deputy. Deputy Dodd, who bails when he realizes that he's about to get made. steals the sheriff's car, and goes home.
Yeah.
Because he's really smart. So they go straight to Dodd's place. They see him in the window, and his mother, played by Colleen Dewhurst. Don't ask me why. As soon as I saw her face, I was like, it's Colleen Dewhurst. Johnny shakes her hand. He realizes that she's covering for her son. She knew the whole time. While all of this is going on, naked Dodd thankfully puts his murder coat on and gets into the bathtub with his hair cutter murder scissors.
Yeah.
And by the way, which I would describe as the gummo bathroom. It's like the most disgusting bathroom. He gets into the bathtub and puts the scissors, like props them up on this little table and face plants into the fucking scissors. It's so awesome. That's his way of killing himself.
Yeah, yeah. A guy who has a gun right there is like, I'm gonna do some wild scissor shit.
Amazing. So they find his body, and then Dodd's mom sneaks up on the hobby horse that Dodd has somewhere, or someone has upstairs in the top part of the house, which is only lit by green.
Yeah.
Grabs his service revolver and shoots Johnny, and then the sheriff murders her. Great. Yeah. So that happens. That whole little side story is over and wasn't really important at all, but that's fine. Yeah. Johnny moves away to live in hiding because he's getting bombarded with, people want him to help them find things or whatever. His dad has been mailing him bundles of all the mail that he doesn't open. The doctor has found him. He's located him through his dad, and he's talking to him and telling him, you should help people. Don't be a tool. And then he tells him that he's been doing research and that he's discovered that the COVID vaccine is not... Oh, wait a minute.
No, I'm sorry. No.
No, he's been doing...
It's like, it's surprisingly ineffective against the Ashkenazi Jews.
Jesus Christ. He's been doing research and has discovered that it's not completely uncommon that people have this touchy, mind-ready ability. But unfortunately, that it is common with people who have this thing, that as their powers get stronger, because apparently they get stronger, although Johnny's don't seem to get any stronger, but that's fine.
It's fine.
That they physically get weaker and weaker, so it drains their life force until they die. But Doc is going to save him. He never says how, and it's never brought up again.
Thank
God. Some guy named Roger just shows up at Johnny's house. They shake hands, and nothing happens. And then Roger tells Johnny that he wants a tutor for his son Chris because his son Chris is kind of an idiot. And he basically but he talks Johnny into going to meet the kid. So they shake hands, and this time nothing happens. And then, meantime, Johnny decides, okay, he's going to help. So he heads out of the house to go to this kid's house. And right across the street is the largest campaign poster ever made, planted in the empty lot directly across from Johnny's house for Greg Stilson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Staring at
the
him.
next morning, it's so weird. The next morning, he goes to Roger's place. Stilson just coincidentally happens to be there. He's trying to get Roger's financial support because Roger is rich.
Yeah.
He goes to shake Johnny's hand, but instead of getting the premonition shake, he slaps a gigantic campaign button in his hand and leaves. And then Johnny and Roger watch Stilson on the TV, populisting his ass all over the place. And Roger confides in Johnny that he's not a fan of Stilson, that, he sees right through him. He's a, Trumpian con man.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like him, but, and then Johnny's like, why do you spend time with him? And he says, well, it's kind of like one of those keep your enemies closer than your friends thing, or whatever. It's stupid. No one cares. Yeah. Great. We cut to Stilson. Now he's broken into some reporter's office with his goon. And the reporter walks in, and turns out that Stilson wants to quash the negative editorial that's coming out in the next morning's edition. And the guy's like, it's too late. Fuck off. And then the guy shows him pictures of him with his lady friend and says, if you don't retract the story, we're going to release these photos, and your wife probably won't be very happy about it. Great. So, yeah, so that shows you what kind of a guy Stilson is, in case you didn't already know. Sarah shows up at Johnny's door, stumping for Stilson. Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah.
Well, her husband shows up at the door, and then he says, well, can I give you some campaign brochures? And Johnny says, bro, sure. And then...
wow.
I'm such a fool.
Ouch.
I had to go there.
Oh, yeah. Dad energy.
Jump the shark. Anyways, and so he says, honey, can you get some stuff? Pamphlets? And it's Sarah. Oh, good. She's stumping for Stilson, so she's an idiot.
Yes.
They leave. Johnny cries like a wee bitch because he didn't think he would have to see Sarah again, and she's just broke his little heart. And then Chris is now tutoring. Johnny is now tutoring this kid, Chris, who looks like the Antichrist. He looks like he just walked off the set of The Omen, which I think he may have, actually. They're like pals, and they're doing the teachy thing, and everything's great. And then they hug, and somehow Johnny is able to have a vision of Chris falling through some ice in hockey gear, even though he only touched like his sweater, basically. So now he can touch sweaters and see stuff. That's fine. He tries to warn Roger, because they're going to have their first hockey practice. And Roger's like, don't be a dick, man. We usually don't see any thawing until March, and it's Christmas time, so don't be a tool. Roger basically loses his shit and accuses Johnny of being a loop job. And Johnny shakes Chris's hand, and nothing happens. And then... Johnny reads the newspaper the next day. Chris has an argument with his dad. He's like sitting at the oldest Mac computer ever made.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like, oh, there are computers in this world. And then his dad's like, all right, well, suit up. It's hockey time. And the kid's like, what are you, a dumb fuck? I'm not playing hockey. And he's like, you can either play hockey or not. And which I guess, I don't know why that was like tough love, but the kid's like, okay, I go with not. And so the next day, Johnny reads the newspaper. 2 of the kids from the hockey team drown. They fell through the ice and drowned. Okay, he calls Roger and finds out that Chris answers the phone. Johnny's excited. He doesn't say anything because, why say anything? And then we cut to a Stilson rally. Ramping up across the street, getting ready. They're, of course, doing it directly across the street from Johnny's place in the big park or field or whatever. Johnny goes there just, for whatever, shits and giggles, I guess, and ends up shaking Stilson's hand as he's glad-handing his way through the crowd, and just happens to have a premonition that Stilson becomes president and orders a preemptive nuclear strike on Russia because it's his destiny.
Yeah, and he's all like sweaty and his neck is throbbing while it's happening. It's great. I love Martin Sheen.
Oh, he's so good. That over the fireplace is the largest presidential medallion ever made.
Oh, man.
Which he apparently just puts over his fireplace. And he has like the coolest hand scanner device ever made. It's like the most 80s looking thing ever.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So he orders up nukes, and then the vice president and some other guys show up at the door, and they're like, oh, thank God, thank God, Mr. President, we've come up with a diplomatic solution. And he's like, oh no, it's good. The missiles are already in the air. So that's his vision. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
He starts kind of, freaking out about this. And he gets back in touch with the doc. They're hanging out. He's telling the doctor, he basically hits him with the old, would you go back and kill a baby Hitler chestnut?
Yeah.
And then they talk about it a little bit, and then Johnny and the doc basically realize that he has what the doctor refers to as a dead zone in his ability, and in that dead zone, he is somehow able to magically change the future. It's not magic. It's like the magic part is the precognition thing. So, of course he could change the future. It hasn't happened yet, but that's fine. Whatever.
But Doctor, how do we tie my ability into the title of the movie?
We've got to match up with the title. So the doctor leaves because that part of the story is over. And Johnny goes and grabs a rifle because he just happens to have a bolt-action rifle in his ancient house.
Yeah.
Johnny sends Sarah a "I'm not hiding anymore" letter in which he professes his undying love and preemptively, once again, apologizes for something that she's never going to understand and says goodbye. At the next political rally, Johnny is up on the balcony in some sort of auditorium where this rally is taking place. He busts out the bolt action, is about to take a shot right when Sarah recognizes him and is like, "Johnny, what the fuck?" And then he composes himself just quick enough to get a shot off and miss. He hits the corner of the podium and just gets a little piece of Stilson's ear. Just popped a little bit of the ear and killed some guy in the back that no one cared about. Stilson panics and grabs Sarah's kid to shield himself. To shield himself from the assassin. Oh my god.
The smallest meat shield available in the room.
He should have just said, "Not the hair." He holds the baby up. Of course, the photographers have a field day. And of course, it's, ruin his campaign. But first, Johnny is shot by Stilson's goon. And then we see a stunt actor who looks about 12 fall over the rail and then is immediately replaced with a bleeding Johnny who touches Stilson's hand because Stilson comes over and is like, "What the fuck? Who the fuck are you? God damn it." And he touches his hand. And he sees a Newsweek issue with a photo of Stilson shielding himself with a baby. And it says something like, "It's over," or something like that. So he realizes, and then there's a gun on top of the table or the magazine or whatever. So we see Stilson picks up the gun and he shoots himself. World saved. Great. Dead zone. Johnny is encountered. Sarah runs up and, they're having their little moment and he tells her goodbye. She says she loves him and then he dies and the movie's over. Yeah. You've been dead zoned.
Oh.
I have perennially confused this film with The Keep ever since I saw both of them. And I can't not interchange the two, even though they have nothing in common. And The Keep fucking kicks ass. And this movie does not. But that's just a little bit of trivia for me in my fucked up brain. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was gonna say that when we talked about this movie, I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm looking forward to it." And then every time I watch this movie, I was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen this."
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
it's
so
one of those
forgettable,
movies
except for that scene with the baby when you like. Way to go out on the movie. It's just that, like, Martin Sheen shielding his body with a baby shield. Like, that's just brilliant.
That mock-up Newsweek is fucking... I would love to have that mock-up Newsweek.
Amazing
So
prop.
cool.
Yeah.
Have it framed. Oh, that would be amazing. But, the movie has its moments, for sure. And Christopher Walken is phenomenal. He's always... he doesn't do anything particularly special in this movie except just be himself. And honestly, that's enough. I mean, like, when he wakes up from the coma and he's all, "I don't know where I am. I'm confused." And then the doctor's telling him, "You've been in a coma and all this stuff." And then he kind of wakes up and then he's just like Christopher Walken again. He's just like this smart ass. Like, Well, I guess that I can't be blamed for anything that's happened in 5 years. It's like, just like making quips, and he's so fucking great. I love that dude.
For the
He's a
remainder of
national
this
treasure.
movie, please call me Christopher Limpin.
My God, he's the most exaggerated limp ever. It's amazing.
For a long time, he's wearing this brace to hold his head on straight, and it's obviously not tied tight because it just keeps messing up his hair, and his head is just like wiggling around in the middle of it.
It's so good. Oh my God. Oh, it's fucking, I love him so much.
Yeah.
Have you seen Severance? He's in Severance, and he's fucking great in that show.
Oh, the TV series, the Apple TV.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that whole show is the best. I'm very excited for season 2.
Yeah, they need to get that shit out post haste.
Yeah, ex post facto.
Oh, Nipsey Russell. Wait.
Okay, so Johnny is like, hey, I have premonitions. All of these, because in his vision, he doesn't just see wee little Tyke fall through the fucking death glass, whatever it's called.
Right.
Ice?
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
He sees a whole fuck ton, like an entire hockey team fall to their icy death. And he's like, well, I'm going to warn you, the rich guy, for your son not to die. But all those other kids can go die I mean, their parents will be better off anyway because of all the poverty, you know, one less mouth to feed.
Yeah, fuck those kids. They can go pound rocks.
Yeah. They could go pound rocks at the bottom of a death ice ocean.
This movie is just like packed. It's just packed with like the kinds of things that I see in a movie where I'm like, and this is David Cronenberg, who is considered, you know, one of the greatest horror filmmakers of all time, which, I mean, is fairly, but, you know, this movie is trash, really. I mean, it's fun, it's entertaining, and I guess that speaks to his ability, I suppose. I mean, he's got good people around him, and he had made great films before this, so it's not like he didn't know what he was doing. He had Hollywood money. You know, it was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, it would be hard for him to fuck it up, and he didn't fuck it up, but he did. He was basically like, you know, on autopilot for this movie, I would have to think. I mean, there's nothing Cronenberg about it. He didn't put any of his flair in it. There's none of his style except that one tunnel shot. The rest of the entire film has nothing to do with David Cronenberg, except that there's a couple Canadian actors in there that I'm assuming he picked because he knew them. But other than that, I don't know if it was even maybe it was shot in Canada. I have no idea.
It was, in fact, shot in Canada, and it was so cold outside because there was a cold snap during filming that everyone was miserable, and I think that might be what's wrong with everyone's performance, except for Martin Sheen, is it was like, at times, negative 20 degrees outside while they're filming, and so, you know, you've got people out there like, oh, I can't wait for this scene to be over. Whereas Martin Sheen's just like, yeah, let's go all the way. Let's do cocaine and do this shot.
In my, once, back in the 90s when they were shooting Reality Bites in Houston, some friends of mine used to live in that house that they shoot in that movie, apparently. But, so they knew about, you know, that there were going to be scenes shot in the house because that's where, you know, all the friends live in this house in the movie. And so I had got a call from somebody and they're like, hey, Ben Stiller, who I believe directed that movie, is shooting a scene in front of the Polk House. It was on Polk Street, I think. And you should come check it out if you're interested. So I went down there and just watched a Hollywood production shoot a scene. And the scene was Ben Stiller drives up to the house, drives up to the curb, gets out of the car, walks up and knocks on the door. That was the scene. We watched for probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
He probably did it 4 times. The rest of the 2 hours was just people standing around talking and a truck going up and down the street, hosing it down so it looks wet.
Nice.
That was, I mean, there was probably 50 people, you know, lighting crew, aides, actor, you know, like, I mean, he was the only actor probably on set that day because they were just shooting that scene. But it literally took hours. And I don't know why, but something about the way he was getting out of the car and going to the door wasn't good enough that he had to do it repeatedly. And I just was like, I think I just witnessed probably $300,000 just go in the toilet. And then I watched the movie when it came out in like intently waiting for that scene. It's not even in it.
Oh, fuck.
And it was so coincidental even if it was, but they didn't even put it in there. So it's like, it's incredible how wasteful these productions are. I don't know what my point was. It was probably pretty good, but that's a good story.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I have a similar one. I was 6. I was in LaGrange whenever John Travolta showed up to film some sort of scene at the LaGrange courthouse.
For Urban Cowboy?
No, I don't think so. It was like the 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're not 1,000
Midnight
years old.
Cowboy? I don't know.
Midnight Cowboy. It was 1968.
Yeah. And I would remember, like, being real interested, like, oh yeah, they're shooting a movie. And then just, no, that was it. It was just so boring. Walk away, do anything else. I think there was a Little League field nearby, and I just, like, wandered away.
You hear stories about, how boring it is, and you always wonder why the actors all end up fucking each other. It's like, well, there's nothing else to do. You're sitting in your trailer all day waiting for your big moment. You're probably nervous because you want to make sure you get your lines right, and, there's 800 people waiting for you to get everything perfect, and you're just like, well, I mean, I could bone Natalie Portman while I sit around and wait, but, or I could sit here and be nervous and do cocaine. So,
yeah.
Again, another story that made no sense, but I'm glad I told it.
It's fine. I've heard that filming pornography is also super duper boring for everyone involved.
Yeah, I can't. Here's another story. I used to work with this guy who would pose these ridiculous ideas to the rest of us that worked there, and we had this whole crew that worked in like a shipping department, and this guy, he was awesome. He had all these ridiculous. He'd be like, "Okay, here's one. Would you, if you had a chance, would you let? You could do anything you want. Would you let Cindy Crawford pee on you?" And everyone was like, "Dude, what is wrong with you?" And he's like, "Oh, okay, so I'm the only one then. You're gonna sit here and tell me you wouldn't let Cindy Crawford pee on you, and then you could do anything you want." And I'm just like, "Dude, you need help. That's sick."
Is this the guy that you went to see Leon the Professional with?
Oh no, no, that's a different one.
Okay.
Where we were talking in the lobby.
I was feeling some similarities with these stories here.
Once again, there was a point to that story, and I've already forgotten it. But it doesn't matter. I'm on a roll.
It's good. All right. Do you think that the goon guy that was always with President Martin Sheen, do you think that guy was the devil? I'm getting big devil vibes from that guy.
Could be. He could be, like, whispering sweet to nothings in his ear. Like, yeah, what if we just went ahead and nuked them now?
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out.
He's the only other guy. He's like the guy in the middle holding the case for them to do the nuke buttons with. He's very, like, needful thingsy about everything.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Well, here. Shield yourself with the child. You can pick any child, and then you will go away.
Yeah, because what kind of a dick assassin would shoot a baby, am I right?
Yeah, that guy was great. He was giving off very heavy movie villain vibes.
Yeah. I like that fucking Brooke Adams' character is just like the official be near the future president lady. Like, I'm gonna bring my baby around him.
Her character was so paper thin, it was ridiculous. I mean, she just existed to break his heart and fuck him for no reason.
Yeah, and to cheat on her new husband with him because that hadn't been done yet.
And then when the husband comes to his door, they had to play up him being a dick even though there was no reason for him to be a dick. It wasn't relevant. He wasn't played for a dick. He was just the guy, the poor hapless idiot that married this woman who feels that a 5-year
horrible woman.
Yeah, that there was some sort of fuck IOU going on between her and Johnny Smith.
Yeah. She's like, I just haven't managed to clear that line item yet.
I was like, who wrote this? A 16-year-old boy? Oh, wait, it was Stephen King.
Stephen King, yep. I still gotta bone that lady from earlier.
Somebody didn't have a lot of girlfriends growing up.
No, ma'am, I think it would be worth it for us to have sex later after I ditch these horrible glasses and my hair stops obeying the laws of gravity.
What is he, Kelly Hitchcock?
Whoa!
I can't believe you guys have girlfriends.
Oh, why would you want to touch their vaginas?
Jesus Christ.
I liked watching this movie. I'm glad you picked it. This was a winner. Totally weird, but I could definitely see it being a TV show. It's weird, it's episodic. Apparently, the book is not written in chronological order. It jumps around, and so all of these things are happening simultaneously in the book. And that's probably why Stephen King's screenplay for it totally blew chunky butts.
I haven't read the book. I might have to give it a shot. Hearing you say that reminded me for some stupid reason, because I have ADHD. That's why.
There it is.
When we were watching the movie yesterday, and they were showing trailers. And by the way, the near future of movies is not looking great. There was one with Mark Wahlberg, who plays a pilot who uses a fake Southern accent, and then in the trailer his hat gets torn off and he's got like fake balding. It's real bad. But then there was also a trailer for a movie based on a Colson Whitehead novel. So it's like an all African American cast. The entire film apparently is shot in first person for the main character. It's about a little boy, and I was like, that's ballsy. And also, I don't think I could watch that on the big screen because I'd probably barf. But
yeah,
I was like, damn, that takes some balls to make a movie like that. So I'm curious about that one, but I don't know. Like 2 hours of very literary first person. Yeah.
So it's like softcore Henry instead of hardcore Henry.
Yes, exactly. Whoa.
Nice. I would not watch that.
Yeah. I probably won't be watching that one.
Yeah. So what else have you been watching, sir? You mentioned Nosferatu.
Yeah, no,
but what other content have you been imbibing with your
I've been off all week, but I've been playing too many video games on my phone. I realized that you can get the Google Play Pass right now for $1 a month for 6 months. So for $6, you basically have full access, including all DLCs and all that shit, to 1,000 different games for $1 a month. So I'm playing all those puzzle games where it's like this little box and it has 8 billion locks and little hidden compartments, and you have to, unlock everything and find the key and do this. And I love that kind of shit. So I've been doing that mostly. But the only other horror movie I did watch that I probably saw it when I was a kid, but the 1957 original The Blob with Steve McQueen.
Oh, yes.
So bad. I loved it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely a situation where the remake is way better than the original.
The remake is really good, surprisingly.
Yeah.
It's really good, though.
We might have to do a double feature of those, actually. That would be real good. Oh, man.
The Blobsy twins. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, the original it's terrible, but it is so good, too. It's just like, oh, there's some stuff, I guess. Ooh, scary.
It's one of those movies that has parts in it where the dialogue sounds like, when somebody tries to make a period film and, they capture certain things right, but then, they'll put, like somebody will say, something that nobody said back in the 50s or whatever. Like, they'll be like, cool, let's Google it or whatever, It's like, this movie had lines like that, except it was made in 1957. And I'm like, wait, people talk like that in 1957? So it's kind of fun to watch, they go fast and loose with the story, and it's fucking awesome. Like a meteor lands in a field, and some farmer uncovers this weird blob that like eats people and gets bigger and is voracious. Yes. What a fucking great movie!
Yeah. One of the greatest 1950s movie monsters. Like, fucking it's amazing. Just an ever-growing blob. Hell yes.
Fucking amazing. Yeah. Speaking of, like, that whole period thing, as you know, I'm like a complete fucking whore for, like, really well-made period horror films. And Nosferatu, obviously, was perfect for that. And as far as, like, dialogue and feel and setting and all that stuff, it didn't have any of those, like, anachronistic faux pas or deliberate nods to the future. It was very much a film of its time period. It felt like 1838, and he didn't try to modernize it, or it's very authentic feeling, and it just really added to the atmosphere. Like, even Nosferatu's accent is so fucking over the top and perfect, and it's just so unapologetic too. It's just like, here you go. This is what he sounds like. Fuck you.
Nice.
It's amazing. But that was it. That was
I
the
look
only
forward
other...
to that.
Yeah, it's see it in the theater too. I usually don't give a shit about that when people say that, but this movie is so good in the theater. It's so lush. Oh my god, and loud. Oh, the volume was great.
Nice.
Yeah, that was it as far as like horror stuff. What about you?
Okay, I got a list. This time cool. I prepared.
Yes.
All right. So, I believe I mentioned to you, and by you I also mean all you listeners out there, that in 2024, my big goal was to watch all of the Godzilla films.
Wow.
I did. I watched all 38.
38?
38 Godzilla.
God damn, Josh, there's no way I'm going to be able to beat that. Is there even any series of films that are longer?
Fuck.
I mean, I thought I was cool because I saw all the Hellraiser movies, and that damn near ruined me. 38 Godzilla films. Wow.
38 of various eras, and just, it was wild. There were a few surprises in there. At a certain point, I'll have to write up some notes or something, but that won't work because I've forgotten more than I watched. Some of them I could only find in Spanish because the original Japanese and the English dubbed were not currently licensed anywhere. Wow. So, like, it was wild. Totally worth it. I highly recommend everyone go watch all 38 Godzilla movies.
Wow. So does that include, like, all the Ghidorahs and the Mothras and all that shit, or is just anything that has Godzilla in it, I guess?
If it has, like, Godzilla as in the title or is considered one of the canonical Godzilla films, yes. If it's just a Mothra movie and there's no Godzilla in it, fuck no. I don't have time for that. I don't care anymore. But I must say, like, not so much Mothra himself, but those little twin fairies showing up to sing little songs about Mothra, I love that shit every time.
Oh yeah, some of those movies are great too. That's true. I don't know about the baby Godzilla. That might be a problem, but yeah.
Ooh, yeah, always bad. I also rewatched Smile. It wasn't as bad as I remembered it being. Actually pretty good. And then I went ahead and on your recommendation, I watched Smile 2. Great monster. That was top-notch stuff. Yeah. And I say, like, after watching those two movies now, I feel a little bit better about that dude remaking Possession, you know? Like, if someone is gonna do it, maybe he'll do a good job, you know?
Could be, yeah. Yeah, could be, yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I thought the monster was kick-ass. I mean, obviously the movie's not great, but it was entertaining. It was worth a watch. And the end certainly made up for it, so.
Yeah. So, hell yeah. I also watched a horror movie called Significant Other about a couple that goes into the woods for hiking, and then there is like a body snatcher like alien that gets one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's real good. It is
Really
full of surprises.
Oh,
yeah.
I've heard of it, but I never watched it because it just looked like one of those movies that I was like, eh. But I'm totally watching it now.
Yeah, the same thing for me. I watched it, you see it and it's like, oh, a couple goes into the survival woods. Ew, I wonder what'll happen. But no, it's way better than any of those that I've ever seen.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm totally going to watch that.
Yeah,
cool.
Worth it. I also, for the first time in my life, watched Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Ah, with Audrey Hepburn?
With Audrey Hepburn. And I have to say, I want to continue this conversation possibly over the course of the year. Have you seen that movie?
I've seen parts of it. I don't think I've seen all of it. She's charming as shit.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's the only reason to keep watching the movie is just to watch her screen presence take place. Because
she
that
really
movie is nothing. But there's a scene at the end where she's having her full emotional breakdown, where she is in a taxi with the dude and the cat, and it's raining outside, and she opens the taxi door and kicks the cat out of the car into the rain to let it, like, fend for itself from now on. And that scene gave me the strongest, like, tied to the narrative emotional reaction that any movie has given me in a very long time.
Wow.
I was shocked and horrified in a way that a horror movie cannot do to me. And so that made me start questioning, well, that emotional reaction is not what I expect from my horror movies. You know, I expect to be surprised, I expect to be amazed, blown away, sure, from horror movies, but I don't expect to be horrified from horror movies.
Right.
And so the conversation that I would like to have with you, not today, but thinking about it over the course of the next year is, what do we expect from horror movies? And what horror movies fulfill that for us?
Yeah, I mean, you and I have had that discussion before, and it's something I think about a lot, you know? I'm like, because I don't get scared by them, and that's what they're for, right? But it's not that simple.
Yeah.
You know? And so then you go down that rabbit hole, you know? For instance, The Dead Zone, not a horror movie.
Yeah, not really. Not scared. I'm not scared of going into a coma and waking up with a magic power. By the way, so that trope is so I don't have a historical. Is it that Stephen King came up with that bullshit, or was that already a shitty trope before The Dead Zone?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it just seems it's like a chicken or the egg thing with Hollywood. Is that trope? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Basically, anything comes out of Stephen King, it's like, wait, was he innovative, or was this already just cheeseball masturbation before he came across it?
Because he could quite fairly be accused of both.
Could go either way with that guy. Anyway, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is, because 2024 can blow chunks, and the world is dying and everything is terrible, including Microsoft Windows, I had to switch to Linux. So I am coming to you from a Linux machine. I am not a power user. I do not type things into a command console, but I've had to get comfortable doing that in order to use Linux.
Well, there's a bunch of versions of it that are basically just a stripped down Windows for all intents and purposes. I mean, it has a GUI, and you know, there's an interface there and all that. Are you using one of those?
Oh yeah, I'm using Linux Mint right now. But earlier on this very day, I was in fact using Nobara, because Nobara is better for gaming than Linux Mint. but I couldn't get it to work properly with my graphics card and Audacity, so I had to panic reinstall Linux Mint in order to be able to record this very episode.
I had a laptop that went out of date, like there was things that wouldn't work on it, so I just said fuck it and put Linux on it, and it worked great. And then I got a new computer, so I didn't need it. But yeah, I was actually surprised how user friendly it was. I mean, they've come a long way with some of those.
Oh yeah. So I was originally thinking what at the crossroads of David Cronenberg and Linux. I was thinking, what better movie for us to review than Jurassic Park? Because, because you've got Jeff Goldblum there, and it's a Unix system, I know this. But then I remembered the 2025, what I wanted to do for my movies theme 2025, and that is to use paid, non-Shudder, little off-brand streaming services for my movie picks. So, instead of doing Jurassic Park, I went and I got a week-long subscription to Arrow. It's a company that releases old movies on Blu-ray and stuff. They also have a streaming service. And I looked in there for something that looked interesting that I hadn't seen before. So, for our next movie, we are going to be watching Mark O'Brien's 2021 Canadian little black and white-aroo film called The Righteous.
Special loathsome service announcement. Josh's movie pick was not good for our podcast. It's a fine film, very dramatic, well acted, well written, well executed, a little indie production. It's the type of thing that we like to see more of, but us describing it would, what if Catholic guilt for a half hour? It's just not the right thing for our podcast. So instead of that, if you want to watch along with us on this coming episode, we'll be watching Andrew Vandenhouten's 2009 adaptation of the Jack Ketchum novel, Offspring.
Yeah, and you can find it there. I'm sure you can find it other places, but it'll be something new and exciting, just like 2025!
Arrow's got some good stuff. They've got some interesting... I had Arrow for a while, and I watched some pretty crazy shit. I can't remember what I saw, but they had some interesting films that I couldn't, I'd never seen anywhere else. Wow, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit up Arrow, Screambucks. What is it? Midnight or I forget. There's
Midnight
another one.
Pulp
There's
or something. Or...
Yeah, there's all kinds of little cool indie streaming services that have really cool curated lists of horror movies, and that's what I'm gonna be doing for my picks in 2025.
That's awesome. I like this.
Okay. Nice. And without further ado, go out there. Don't march on the Capitol building. Don't touch people's hands.
Don't touch people's hands. Don't leave... Well, I guess you can leave pipe bombs laying around, because that doesn't seem to bother anybody.
No. Defend those T-Mobile stores.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and then, as my good friend Count Orlok often says in the movie Nosferatu, I'm sorry you all have to die. It's so good.
It sounds like Count Orlok took a big old bong rip.
That's what he sounds like the whole fucking movie. I've never heard anybody roll their R's as much, and I don't even know where they got the voice in that movie, because it doesn't sound fuck all like Bill Skarsgård. It is amazing.
Oh, man. I hope this is the end of Bill Skarsgård having to be every horror movie villain, though.
The funny thing is it literally could have been anyone. I mean, It doesn't look like him. It doesn't sound like him. there's not even a hint of. I'm like, when you watch The Penguin, you're like, I guess I could maybe see Colin Farrell in there, maybe. You know, he's in there somewhere. With this, it's like, no, it's just a cipher. Could have been CGI. Wouldn't have mattered. It no fucking clue that it's him. Great performance, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Count Pennywise.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop recording.
Okay, me too.